Welcome to this Microsoft Word introduction course. In this course we're going to cover the following topics: basic formatting, copy and paste, alignment, tabs, indent, find and replace, borders and shading, and numbering. The first part is basic formatting, where you can see we're going to change the font color, the alignment and the size, and do some shading. Following basic formatting, we're going to look at how to do copy and paste using your mouse or the ribbon, and different ways to do copy and paste. Following that, we'll look at alignment, how to left align, right align, center and justify a paragraph. Following alignment, we will look at tabs, how to create a left tab, a right tab, a center tab and a decimal tab, and the leader dots you can see there as well. Following that, we'll look at indents, left indent, right indent, hanging indent and first line indent. Following indents, we'll look at find and replace, where you replace a word in a paragraph or a sentence, change the font on that word and change the color if required. Then it's borders and shading, where we shade a whole paragraph or border a paragraph or just a phrase within a paragraph. Following that, it's numbering, basic numbering and then outline numbering like shown on the screen. Each section will have a consolidation exercise where you will have to create something or use files that are part of this course that you should have and carry out the instructions within the exercise. The exercises are just practice, so there's no tests involved, there's no pass or fail. If you can't remember how to do it, just go back and look over the video and check again. And that will be the process throughout all the sections. Following on from this section is the first part of the course. Hi guys, welcome to this Microsoft Word session. This is the basic Word session. We're going to look at basic formatting of fonts, font styles and other font features. Basically this group at the top where it says fonts, we're going to look at some of the things in there. Starting off, we're just going to type some text on the screen and then I'm going to highlight this text. Now this area of the screen is called the selection area. When you move your mouse into this area, the white arrow points to the right. If I come a bit further across, it disappears. Now quite a few people highlight text like that, which is not incorrect at all, I'm not saying that, but I tend to tell people to get your mouse into the selection area, click once, it will highlight the line. If we had a paragraph, as you'll see later, 2 clicks will highlight the paragraph. But first of all, I've highlighted the line of text that I want to manipulate. So what I'm going to do on this one, I want to make this one bold and I want to change the font to Algerian and I want to change the font size to 16 for example. And I'm going to click at the end of that line, type a few characters, it's picked it up. Now I'm going to change the font on every line to show people how this works. So I want to now reset this back to the default font. So I could go back up, change the font there, the size there, take the bold off, or I could use this key command, Control and Spacebar, which puts it back to the default font. Then I can type a new line of text, because this one, I'm highlighting it, I want to underline it. Now you'll notice when you highlight text, you get this mini toolbar coming up with many of the features that are repeated at the top there, the font block. So for underline, I can just click this button, or I could click that button, or as you saw there, when you point to the underline feature, it tells you the key command, Control U. But I'm just going to click that and then do a space to see, so you can see that's on there. So just see, there it's on. Then I'm going to do Control Spacebar, type a few more characters to make sure it's off, and then press Enter. Next line of text I'm going to type, this one I want to be red and 20 point. So red, font color red, there's a font size 20 point, and again I'm going to type at the end of there and then do Control Spacebar, not Control Enter. There's another key command, Control Spacebar, puts that back to default, press Enter. Next one, highlighting it. Now I'm going to use just the key command. So highlight the paragraph. The key command to make it bold is Control B, to make it underline Control U, and to make it italic Control I. If I click at the end again, start typing, do a space, type test so you can see that, and then to knock that off, Control spacebar, check it is off, back to normal, press enter. Type in some more text, highlighting the line. So this time I want to increase the font. Now when you increase the font from this box, or the one at the top on the ribbon, it's going up, apart from the first couple, in twos. So from 12 onwards it's 2, 14, 16, etc. Now I can do what I'm doing here, just hover over this and see the preview, but I want to just explain a little key command. So I'm going to hold my control key down and use the right square bracket on the keyboard to increase that font. So control square bracket, and you can see the numbers changing up at the top there. So that's the right square bracket to increase, the left square bracket to decrease on the control key. And if you don't know where the square brackets are on the keyboard, they are next to the letter P on the QWERTY keyboard. So that's one I use quite a lot. It's quite useful when you try to get text to fit into a box or something like that. Doing Control spacebar at the end, type in, make sure it's back to normal. Next one, I'm just going to do or explain superscript. So Word is set up by default to automatically place dates as ordinals, as they're called, as superscript. But if I type 23 degrees and I want it to be 23 degrees, I've typed the letter O there. I can manually do that myself by just highlighting it and clicking on this X with a 2 above it, and that will do the superscript. But then I must take off the superscript by doing Control spacebar, otherwise I have a line of baby letters. Now before anybody says or comments, I know you can insert symbols to do that, but if it's sitting there it's quite quick to do. Now subscript, which is this one with the 2 down, works like this. If I type a chemical formula H2SO4, which is sulfuric acid, the 2 and the 4, which I can highlight them both with my control key like that, they are subscript down. And again at the end of that one I need to do Control spacebar to knock that off to make sure it's back on as normal. Press enter, and then I'm ready to type a new line. So new line, this time I want to use this feature, strike through, which puts a line through it. Now strike through is a tool that Word uses when it's doing track changes, but you can also do it yourself. For a price, for example, you could have a price with strike through on it. If I do Control spacebar, just type that again, 23, put a pound sign there, 23. So like for sales and things like that, you can just highlight it and put the strike through. So that's more of a basic use of it. Control spacebar at the end, take caps lock off as well, press enter, type text. Now the next line I'm going to use the hidden text feature, so I'm highlighting it. Now hidden text is not sitting in this block, so I need to go into format cells, or format font in this case, via this little arrow, and then I have some checkboxes, one of which is hidden. So I'm going to tick hidden, click OK, and then the text disappears. Now to see hidden text you need to select this icon, show hide, which will show you the hidden text. Basically shows you where you've pressed enter. It shows you tab markers and space markers and page breaks there, which I did by accident earlier on. Now you might be thinking, why would I use hidden text if you need to have show hide on to see it? Well, if I can explain that, if I just take this off for a minute, if I do a small little table, say I do a 3x3 table, so just type name, phone, email. What I use it for, or I've seen it used, is to give on-screen instructions basically. So in this block at the end, Maybe you've got a receptionist who's going to fill this information in, or it's a form that you want people to fill in and you want to give them instructions. If you use hidden text, those instructions do not print off. So I'll just show you that if I can. So let's say surname only. Surname only. Mobile and work email. So if I highlight these and select hidden text, back there, hidden text, OK, they will disappear. And then maybe I don't want no border there. And put a right border back on there. So I can't see that text unless I click on the show hide, and there it is. If I do print preview now, so I've got print preview up here. No, so I'll just go file print. Basically you won't see that hidden text. So that's what hidden text, or an example of hidden text. Now I'm just going to close this one down using Control W, and then I'm going to press N. See the underline on the N and the underline on the S, which means you can just press those keys. So I'm just going to press N for no, because I don't want to save that, which brings me back to this one. Now show hide off, I can't see it. Show hide on, I can see it. So I would need to see it to take off the hidden text. So if I go back into the font block and take the tick off, click OK to that, and then I can see it, and I can take show hide off. So that's some basic formatting in Word. Now if I want to put all these lines back to the default, I'll just select them all, or I could use the key command Control A to select all, and then do Control spacebar, which will put everything back to the default settings. So that's some basic stuff in Word, and that's the end of this little session. Thank you for your time. In this session I want to have a quick look at alignment, how you align a paragraph. So I'll just get rid of this clipboard, I don't need that anymore. So what you've got there is a paragraph. Now when I click in this paragraph, I don't need to highlight it, although if you did highlight it, it wouldn't make any difference. If I click into this paragraph, I can align the text with any of these buttons across the top here. So at the moment, this one's pressed on, left aligned, Control L. If I click this one, it'll do center aligned. And the key command is not Control C, it's Control E, because C is used for copy. Next one is right aligned, so right aligned to the right margin. That's the indent, but that's the actual margin line there. And the last one is justify, which stretches things out slightly. It's not done too much on there, but sometimes that can look like there's a gap between two words. Newspapers usually use justified, but most people go for left aligned. Now the key commands, as I said, if you point to any of these icons, if there's a key command, it will tell you what it is. So Control R would be right, Control L would be left, Control E is center, and Control J is justified. Those are the main alignments that you get within a document. Now if you move the indents in, and I'll talk about indents later on, you still have alignment, but within inside these indent markers. So that is on justified at the minute. Now you can see the gap a bit. So if I go back left, you can't see the gap, but what you get is a jagged line down the outside. So justified in this case does look a bit stretched, and sometimes it gets worse than that. You can't actually get rid of that gap. So some people may go for center or left. Now if I just remove these, just drag that back to the margin, that right indent. In fact, I'll do Control Q because that resets the paragraph. It's quicker than faffing about trying to put that back on the line. Now, another place that you can do alignment is in the paragraph group. This is the paragraph group that we're in at the minute. Bottom right, there's a little arrow. And then in here, you've got a very top thing, alignment. So you can set things up here as well. Now, personally, I wouldn't come into this to do this, because if you're doing that, you just bypass those, even if you didn't know the key commands. So the key commands are the quickest way of doing it. This would be where you would come if you're going to do some of these other things as well, I would suggest, rather than just coming in here just to do that. Now if I want to, let me just get rid of all this stuff, Control A and delete, that get rid of all that. Now I want to do a title, and I want to do it in the middle, and I want it underlined. So this is a quick go on the key command. So I'm going to go Control E, which will center it, Control B for bold, Control U for underlined, and now I'm going to type introduction like so. I'm going to press enter, and then I'm doing the key command Control spacebar, which takes everything off and puts it back to the default, which I've already mentioned on the first session, and then Control L to go left. And then I'm going to come down a line, and then I'm ready to type like so, just doing spaces, just typing random stuff. But that's just a quick demonstration of how you can do key commands to get a text across into the middle or to the right or left of the screen, whichever one you want. And that's the end of the alignment section. So thank you for your time. I'll see you on the next bit. In this module, I'm going to look at how you use the change case feature. So on the screen, I have a document there that has no capital letters, no sentence cases selected or anything like that. So what I'm going to do first off is highlight these two. So these need to be in capitals, but they also need to be bold and underlined. So bold and underlined. And then the change case feature is this at the top. So you've got these 5 different options. Now I want uppercase, so that's what I'm going to do. Now this next line needs to be in capitals as well, bold and italic. So bold, italic, and then capitals, change case, uppercase, like so. Now this sentence, I need to highlight it, so I'm just going to double click in the margin. This needs to be put into sentence case. So again, sentence case. Now what it's done, even though it put a capital L there, it knocked the capital S off on Sunday, which has now been picked up as a mistake. So if I right click on that, I can then just correct that one. Now the next one, highlight these two. The reason I can't double click to highlight is because it's not a paragraph. So these want to be bold and underlined and in capitals, uppercase. The B's, highlight, bold, italic, uppercase. And then the same for this paragraph, double click in the margin. This wants to be sentence case, sentence case. Newcastle is not correct. Right click on Newcastle, select that one. Everything else looks okay. Come down a bit, highlight this one. Now the key command to do this, so I want this to be bold and underlined first off. The key command to make this into uppercase is the F3 function key and shift. So if you hold the F3 button down with the shift key and keep pressing the F3 button, it rotates through 3 of those options at the top. So that's sentence case, that's capitals, and that's lowercase. So I want capitals. So shift F3, and on some laptops you have to hold the FN key down as well, so it becomes a bit more of an issue. Probably just as quick to do it how I am doing it there. Bold, underline, and change case, uppercase. Now I'll just do this last paragraph. That needs to be sentence case, sentence case. Scotswood is a place near a road in Newcastle. When you right click, it comes up with a correct option, which is basically a capital letter, but some in the older versions of Word it won't. I may have added that to my spell check, but if it doesn't, you can just highlight it and then do the shift F3 to do sentence case. It'll put an S on it for you. Newcastle, I could do the same, but I do know Newcastle is going to be there. Right click on that one. Likewise with Sunday, it's quicker to right click. So it's just a case of doing whatever's easiest for you. But this is all about selecting text, formatting it, and changing case, either with the key command, which I will do on this one. So I'm doing shift F3 till it's in capitals. And then the last one I will do this. This will be the last one. Just double click in the margin to select the paragraph. And I'm doing shift F3 again. Sentence case, and then correcting anything that's not correct. So that's a place, so I need to correct that with a capital. Everything else looks okay. Nothing else is underlined. So that is text selection. And I'm just noticing that Armstrong crane there, that's in the wrong place. Don't even know where that came from. So I'll just get rid of that. Cut. Okay, so that's all I want to talk about, and that's the end of this little session. I'll see you in the next one. In this module, I want to look at the spelling or spell check, which is used through the editor feature, and some grammatical issues, and using the thesaurus to change the words if you've got a repeating word that doesn't sound quite right when you read it back to yourself. So as you can see, letters or words that are not spelt correctly in Word, or even in this case, that used to be underlined in green for a grammar error, but now it's been picked up as a spelling mistake. But any spelling mistakes are underlined in red, and you can right click on them to get a correction, and then in blue for what it thinks is a grammatical error, which is that one there. So just right click on that. It's just telling you to put the extra D in there. But if I go across to the editor and just activate that and get myself at the top of this document, so it says there's 25 issues, 23 spelling and 2 grammar, and then you've got all these other issues where are not issues because it's okay. So if I go to the spelling options, it's coming up with the first one there, and as I said, that isn't really a spelling mistake, it's just a gap that's required. So you just basically go through this, and that should be the. Now it's jumped past water and it's gone on to a double deletion there, so delete the first word. It's going to go on, but it has missed out water. That is soft. That is knife. Now that should be melt. So there isn't melt as an option there, so what I'm going to have to do there is do that myself manually. Melt, and while I'm doing that I will get rid of that E as well. So you've got to watch this. So now going back to melt, resume check-in, that should be, lightly that should be, and stirring, right, continually. It hasn't picked up the equal sign, so I could correct that myself actually, just backspace, and we could not apply the suggestion, it was changed or deleted. Okay, it's just confusing it a bit there, but it has actually fixed it, even though that bit's still red. Nettle, that's a change, and this should be the source, and that is source, and then it is a duplication, so I'm delete repeated word, the cream, the saucepan, and that's saucepan. Pick, just the, to, treated, and then that is a name. Well, I haven't got a name down there. That should be T-H-U-R, A-R-T-H-U-R, Arthur. And I can just ignore once that one. And I resume, check in, and it's just got one grammar check, which is this, add. And it wants me to change it to that, which I've now done. Okay, so both of those are correct and finished. What I now want to look at is using the thesaurus, which is where you need to change a word because you're repeating yourself or you don't quite know what the meaning of a word is. So let's have a look at this. If I right click on thoroughly, I can go to this option. It's not actually the thesaurus, but it gives you some similar meanings. Like I could put wash the nettles methodically, carefully is probably a good one. So if I click on carefully, it replaces it straight away. Now if I right click on carefully, it's got these options, but if the option I want is not there, then I can click on this and it opens up the thesaurus. Make that a bit wider, and then it gives you some more meanings for this. Now what happens here, you've got to be careful here, it's not like the right click. So if I click on sensibly, it just jumps to what sensibly is at the top, and then rationally jumps to the top. So it's not actually replacing that word with any of these. And I've got the option to go back there. If I wanted to replace the word, I would have to go to the end of this and drop the arrow down and click insert, and then it will replace the word. Now, options that you can set for the gram check. So this is the ball was kicked by Steve. If I had certain settings in the gram check, I'll just get rid of this option there. It would say that was passive voice, and it should say Steve kicked the ball. That would be the correct way to use that sentence. Now, if I go into options, file options, and then onto the proofing area, what you've got down the bottom here is, I could tick that readability statistics, and I can go into grammar and refinements, or just grammar, and I can click on settings and then either tick the option I want on or off. Incorrect use of that, I'll tick that actually, that's quite a good one to have, that or which. And then you've got passive voice is not ticked, so I will tick that. Jargon, maybe you could tick, depending how you want this, because obviously if you tick everything, it's going to pick everything up. It'll either be underlined in blue or green, depending what version of Word you've got, or it will see it as a spelling mistake. But if I click OK to that, and I'll go recheck document, yeah, OK. Now you see it's picked that up. Now if I right click on that, it gives you the options. Steve kicked the ball is what I said, and then if I click on that, I can get it to read it out to me. If I go into see more, it's coming up with what passive voice is all about, and sometimes your whole sentence structure can be changed if you've got this on, because it picks quite a lot of things up. But it's quite useful to know about it. It's up to you whether you leave it or not, but that's how you can change grammar settings and how the spell check works. So that's all I want to talk about in this little session, so thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi guys, a quick look at copy and paste in Microsoft Word. So I've got a paragraph here, and there are several ways of copying text or paragraphs or a whole document. So first of all, I want to highlight a line, so I'll highlight the whole line, and you can see that this mini toolbar comes up, but it hasn't got copy on there. But you've got copy on the top, copy there, and if I right click my mouse, you've also got copy there. So once you click on copy, it puts the contents of that line that's highlighted into the clipboard. Now to see the clipboard, you need to activate this little tool, get rid of the navigation pane, and then there you can see what I've just copied is in the clipboard. If I double click on the word power and copy that now comes in the clipboard. Now if you don't activate the clipboard, you don't get this feature at all, because what this is going to allow you to do is place these in the document in any order that you like. So if I highlight the whole paragraph and right click copy, now the whole paragraph's there, so I can now click on any of these and bring them into the document wherever I want. So if I click at the bottom here, so come down a line, I want the word power, I just click on it, that line, that paragraph. So wherever I do, wherever I want the text, I can just click on it like so. Now if I just undo that with Control Z for a minute, so undo is Control Z, or you can use these two arrows at the top. So that was copying using the right click. Now nothing's highlighted, so it's grayed out. So as soon as I highlight something, it's active. Now the key command to copy, if I highlight the whole paragraph, is Control and C. So when you do Control C, it copies, and then wherever you want to paste it, you do Control V and it will paste. So if I highlight a phrase and do Control C, you'll see it come up there. It didn't come up before because I'd already done that one, but there you can see that. So if I click down here and do Control V, it pastes it wherever you click. So copy and paste is on the right mouse, on the ribbon, if you highlight something, or a key command. So if I just highlight that word, you'll see copy, and when you point to it, you get the key command. If I point to cut, you get the key command, and if I point to paste, you get the key command. Now we haven't done any cutting, so let's do that. So the difference between copy and cut is when you copy something, you leave the original there. When you cut it though, it moves. You're basically cutting it out. The analogy I always talk about is, show my age a bit, Blue Peter on the BBC. If you cut the chicken off a cornflake box, you are cutting it off the box and you're moving it somewhere else. But if you was just copying it, you might use tracing paper so the chicken stays on the box, but you're copying it through tracing paper. So that's my little analogy. But let's do that one. So if I highlight this second line and do Control X, which is cut, that disappears. Now if I click where I want it to go, so down here a bit, and then Control V, I'm putting it down there. And I can do Control V as many times as I want, and it will push it down there. It remembers, the Control V remembers the last thing you copied. If you didn't want the last thing you copied, you must activate this, and then you can bring in these individual sections as and when required. Now if I just come down a little bit, let's do one more thing. You can also copy with the mouse. If I just highlight that, or let's just say I want goalkeepers. If I move that, so I'm dragging that with my mouse, you can see the little box on the back end of the mouse pointer. If I hold my Control key down, that then has a plus on it, which means I'm copying. So I've got my Control key down and my left mouse down. If I let go, that's copied it. If I do it again and let go, it's going to copy it. I need to press enter actually, so get myself some line spaces, and then it will let me move it into that space. So if there's no line spaces, it's just going along the same line. But now I can copy, copy, copy. So that's the different ways of copying and pasting, and it's totally up to you how you do it. If you highlight the whole document with Control A and then Control Cut, you haven't deleted it even though it's finished, because I can do Control V and it will all come back. So just remember that if you wanted to delete stuff, you do Control A and press the delete key, and then that will go. And then you've got this stuff to paste in whatever order you want it to paste. So that's all I want to talk about on copy and paste. So thanks for your time. I'll see you in the next section. In this module, I want to look at headers and footers and how they work. So first of all, I've got a document on the screen. Now, to get into the header and footer, the quickest way, I believe, is to just point your mouse to the top of the screen and double click. As soon as you do that, this little box comes up, header, telling you are in your header. And on the ribbon, you have got the header and footer tab active, with lots of tools to help you place your header or do whatever you want. Now, because I've got my ruler on, I can see that I've got a center tab and a right tab in this header. So that would be something I could use. But basically, whatever you put in the header repeats on every single page. So if I type my name and then press tab, it will go into the middle. So I want to put the date in there. So I've got an option there to put date and time in, which I will. I'll put it as date and time. And if I have this ticked, it means it will always be the correct date. And then if I tab again, it takes me to the end, and I could put sales or whatever I want there. And then there is an option on the top to go to footer, which I will, down to the bottom. And there you can put the page numbers and whatever you want to do. Now, if I go through page number through this option and bottom of page, and I'll just do a simple one, this one, plain numbers 3, it just puts it over on the right hand side. And that's in the header. Now, to get out of the header, you can either click this button or just double click on the page somewhere. Now, if I go back to the top, you'll see the header slightly grayed out, but it doesn't print like that. It's just because it's in the header. But if I do a hard page break, so I'm just going to do Control and Enter, you'll see that that is now repeated on every page. And if I go down to the bottom, you can see that that is now page 2. So that was a very simple way of doing a header and footer. Now if I just double click back into it, just have a little talk about the footer. Now the way this goes in, which is slightly irritating, I'm just going to delete this footer out actually. let's say you wanted to put the file name and path or something like that in there, or anything, just a sentence even. So if I type, we'll just type mine. I'll put the file name and path in. Let's do that. A document info, it's in file name, file path. That's too much, too long. Just do file name. File name. Okay, now if I go and put the page numbers in like I did before in exactly the same way, watch what happens. It goes over the top of that file name, and that is, even though the number is just there, you have to imagine that this is like a strip of paper that you've just put across the bottom of the document. And obviously that's no good if you want more than one thing on the bottom. So I'm going to do Control Z, undo. What you have to do in this case is tab across to where you want the page number to be and do it slightly different. Not through this option, not through the building blocks, but through field options, field. And then you can go for page numbering, page, and then you've got 1, 2, 3 there at the top. And I'll just click OK to 1, 2, 3, and the same principle will apply. So that should still say 2 at the bottom, which it does, but now you've got the best of both worlds because you can have the file name and the page number on, rather than just one overwriting the other one, or it's not overwriting it, it's just going over the top of it. And again, to come out of this, you just double click on the page. Now if I just go back into it one last time, double click, and just have a quick look at some of these features you've got there. So header and footer, these are preset ones. So these all come out of the building blocks gallery, which is in quick parts. So it's all stuff that's inside here. If I go to gallery, you've got AutoText at the top there. But if I come down, you'll have headers and footers. There's footers, lots of footers. Oops. And then lots of headers. They're just pre-formatted styles, and you can save the one you've just done in there as well. So if I wanted to save this one, if I highlight these two and then go to quick parts and save selection to the gallery, so spelling one I'll call it, it's going to go into footers, so footers, and it wants to be normal, so it's available for every document, and I'll click OK. And then if I just do a new document and then get into the header, so I'm in the header, go to the footer, and then I should be able to insert that through this, through the building blocks. So I've already forgot what it was called, but if I go down to footers, I should be able to find that. There's the start of the footers, and then you're basically looking for the one that we did, which may well be down the bottom, spelling one, that's it there, and then you insert that, and then you get that across the bottom. So that's a way to get around the issue of headers and page numbering overwriting what you've got in the footers. I'll close this one down and just do Control W to close that document. I don't want to save it. And then we're back to this one, and let's have a quick look at what else we've got on there. So you can put pictures and anything you like in the header and footer, but when you put pictures in there, you must make sure you use wrap text. I'll just show you what I mean by that. If I just get myself a picture in examples and then archive photos, Waterloo, my little dragoon man, there we go. So he comes in and he takes up all the space in the footer. So you have to do wrap text, which basically, if I select this option, it'll sit behind the text, and I can position this wherever I want. If I go to the top of the document, I can sit it in the document itself as opposed to the header. And then because it's a picture, you've got all the different effects. You've got transparency options and make it fade it out a little bit, or more than that, like so. But you must set that up to whichever one you want, otherwise it'll just take up half the screen. And then if I double click out of this, there it is, like a little watermark. And if I come back down the screen, it's on every page because it's in the header and footer. And that's how you do that. Now I can't double click on that because it's in the header and footer. So for me to get back into there, I need to activate the header and footer, double click, and then I can click on the man and then move him or do whatever I want to him, like so. And then rest of this is for a different session. But that's all I want to talk about on headers, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for your time. In this module, I want to have a look at indents, how you create indents, how you can adjust indents. So first of all, I have a document on the screen, as you can see, and I'm going to click into the first paragraph and show you how to do a simple left indent. Now, in the paragraph group, you have increase and decrease indent at the top there. If I click increase, this paragraph moves across 1.27 centimeters, which is the default, and you can see the paragraph left aligned paragraph marker sitting on the ruler. If you don't have your ruler active, you need to go view ruler, tick it on, then you can see the indent markers there. Now if I move my mouse up a little bit, you can see the hanging indent marker, which I'll show you in a second, and then a bit further the first line indent marker. So the rectangle at the bottom moves the whole indent, so even though I click the button, I could manually do that. So I'll put that back to the left margin. I can actually pick that rectangle and move it into whatever position I want, or as you saw, I can click the button, but when you click the button it does 1.27, 1.27, 1.27, and then back the same amount. On the right hand side of the ruler, you can see the right indent marker sitting there, so you can bring this paragraph in. It's only acting on the first paragraph because that is what I'm clicked into. If you wanted it to be for more than one paragraph, you would have to highlight the paragraphs you want it to apply to, and then whatever you do will apply to the selected paragraphs. Now if I move my mouse to the top marker, the first line indent, and push that onto 1 centimeter, you can see both these paragraphs, because they're selected, are reacting to my selection. So I'm pushing that to 2 centimeters. Same with the right indent marker, and bringing that in. And to make this look nice and neat, I always like to put justified on as well, so it's nice and straight down the right margin. And the key command to knock off indents is Control and Q. If I do Control and Z for undo, Control Q, it doesn't knock off just indents, it's reset paragraphs, basically, that key command is. So that's basically the left and right indents where they sit. Now if I just go through that again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this manually now. So if I put that at 2 centimeters, so that was me doing it manually. If I pick up the bottom triangle, so I'm pointing to where it says hanging indent, I can pick that bit up and move that across to 4 centimeters, and you've created what's called a hanging indent. Now the chances of you creating that manually or yourself is pretty small, but where that comes in is when you're using numbered lists, which I'll show you in a second. Now if I want to put these back together, it's no good picking up on the rectangle, because that just moves them both. It moves them both whether they're together or staggered like this. So if I want to put those back together, I need to sit on one of these, so I'm sitting on the hanging marker, and then push it back to the other one. Now I'm just going to pull all this back to the margin for a second. Quite often you see things like this where the first line might sit in the margin. Now it wouldn't be in this sort of example here, it would probably be if you've got a numbered list on. So I'm just going to push this back together and show you what I mean. So when you click on 1, 2, 3, this list there, it automatically does an indent, and it's got a hanging indent. So there's the body of the paragraph hanging off the first line. Now the first line could be in the margin for numbers. So if I pick up the left indent marker again, push that to the margin, and then you see that the first line, which in this case is the number, is sitting in the margin. And again, you can adjust that manually if you want it to be further across, or more of a gap. But basically that's the stagger that you have created by having a numbered list on. If I just take that off, now the whole indent's gone into the margin, so then I would pull that across. Now indents can cause lots of stress to people when they've got documents that have been sent to them via email and they haven't done the indents and they don't actually know what's causing problems. what you need to do is just basically double click on the margin, have a look where the indents are, highlight the document and see if there's any indents showing. They'll probably be grayed out if they're not on every paragraph. So if I put this back to there, this resets all these paragraphs. So it's absolutely essential as far as I'm concerned that you activate the ruler, because you can't see indents, you can't see tabs, and you'll be sort of trying to fix things blind. And the last thing you want to be doing is spacebar, trying to spacebar things across, because all you're doing there is putting almost like full stops everywhere. You can't see them without show hide on, but that is the problem. I'll just take that off for a minute and get rid of that. So that is doing the indent from the ruler. The key command to put a left indent on is Control and M. Every time I do Control and M, it's moving across 1.27 centimeters. And if I do Control Shift and M, it will move back. Now, I don't usually teach people that in my classes because it's very close to Control N, which is, I'm sure you know, new, which then does that and causes a bit of stress because people think they've lost all their stuff. But Control M, Mike, is the key command for increase indent. Now, to put these on, if I double click in the margin, that's a paragraph. 3 clicks in the margin is a whole document. I can now go into paragraph. There's a paragraph group and there's format paragraph, as it used to be called, because what you've got here is left and right indent options. And if I wanted every paragraph to be first line, I could go like that and OK, and they're all first line. Now, if I undo that, because I've got them all selected, I can manually do that, as I've shown you already. But it's quite difficult to get 1.27. That's why you would go into the... It's all right if you're doing single centimeters or halves, but 1.27, is that 1.27? Let's have a look. Sod's law, I'll get it. No, 1.25. You're not far off, but you're not going to get 1.27 unless you select it from here or type it yourself. And even once now I've done that, I'm going to have to type it, and then that will be 1.27. That's a very specific measurement. It's dependent what sort of documents you have to lay out. Sometimes the margins, the indents are very specific, and you have to set them for the document. I'm just going to do Control Q to reset everything. So the ways that you can do an indent, as you can see, is use the ruler. Using the ruler, left indent, right indent, split them, first line indent, or do a hanging indent. If it's a numbered list, that's probably going to be done automatically for you. By the way, the key command for hanging indent is Control and T, and Control Shift T will bring it back. But the chances of you doing that, like I've already said, is pretty minimal, because it's going to be appearing for you on a numbered list. Now, that was that one. And then the other way of doing it would be to click these two buttons: increase, 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 decrease, decrease, decrease. And then the last way of doing it is in the paragraph format box or dialog box, and you've got left indent, right indent, and then first line or hanging from this option there. And whichever one you pick, first line or hanging, it does default to that at 1.27 centimeters, which for older people is ½ inch, or for the US is ½ inch. Okay, so I'll just cancel that if I'm not going to do that. So that's basically how you use indents, and that's all I want to talk about in this little session. So thank you for your time, and I'll see you on the next one. In this module, I want to have a quick look at how to set tabs. So first of all, to get into tabs, go to the Home tab, and then where it says paragraph here, this small arrow to the right, if you go in there, down the bottom left is tabs. So it's quite well hidden. So this is a formal way of setting tabs. There are quicker ways of doing this, but I just wanted to show you this one. So if you set a tab stop at 5 centimeters and set, and then 10 centimeters and set, these tab stops will appear on this ruler and will override the default tab stop of 1.27 centimeters. At the moment they're left aligned, but you can change the alignment to any of these. and at the moment they don't have leader dots because this is going to be the title. So once you've set each one, you can click OK and you'll see them appear on the ruler. So then you can use them to navigate across the page rather than pressing multiple tabs. So if I press tab once, it goes to the first tab stop, and then I type what I want to be there. I press tab again, it goes to the second one, I type what I want to appear there. Then I'm going to press enter. Now what I want for the rest of this list is for the names of people to have what are called leader dots. So to do that, I need to go back into the tabs area, and I need to click on 5, which it is, and leader dot set. I want that one too, and I need to do the same for the 10 to set. So for each tab, you need to click on it and do set. And then you click OK, and then you can start typing. When you press tab, you get the leader dots, and you press tab again, you get the leader dots. Just press enter twice and just type one other person, John, tab. So tabs are very useful for lining things up like this. But what you have to remember is if you do not remove these tabs, and you can just actually pull these off, which I'll show you shortly. If you do not remove these tabs, every time you press tab going through this document, it will jump to that 5 centimeter mark instead of what you're expecting of 1.27 centimeters. So you need to go back into tabs and clear all from this point. Okay, so now they're no longer on the ruler and you can't see them. But if you click back up even one line, they appear again. So if you started pressing enter, you are now bringing them down these extra lines. So they're off there, but they're on there and they're on there. So just be careful that you don't bring these extra tabs down. So I'm just going to pull them off that extra line that I created there. So now they're just on that line, which is okay. I'm okay with that. So the next line down, there's no tabs. So that is a formal way of putting tabs on, if you like. A quick way of putting tabs on is to use this tool in the left hand corner where you can see where I'm pointing now, it says left tab. You don't actually drag that or click on that. If you click on it, it just changes it to a new tab, a different tab, which I'll do in a second. But basically what you do here is you just put your mouse onto the point of the ruler where the ruler is. And by the way, if you haven't got the ruler, it's on the view tab and then ruler. So you just click there and then you get the little L-shaped tab. So when you press tab, it jumps to that point, and then I will put my name so you can see how it works. So that's coming into the document that way. And I'll press return. I'm going to pull that one off, just pull it down into the page and let go. Now when you click this button here in the corner, that's going to change over to what's called a center tab. I'll put that on the same point and tab to it and type my name again, and then you can see that it's coming out either side of that tab. So if I click on that tab, that's the center point. So if I go into this line and click on the tab, it's coming from that point going into the document from the left. So if I press return again on this line, pull that tab off and click this one again, you'll get a right tab. And if I click on the same point, 3 centimeters, press tab to it, type my name again, you can see this is going the other way into the left margin. So normally you would have one of these right tabs over on the right hand side. And if I just quickly double click into the header, when you get into the header, you can see there is actually a right tab preset there. It's already there, and there's a center tab there already set when you double click into the header. Just come out of that header. Press enter, come down, pull that one off. Click the next one. The next one is the decimal tab, which is a great tool to use to line money up. So if I click that on at the 12 centimeter mark and press tab and then go 1, 2, 3 like that, so entering money, when I press enter, I tab again, I go 1.23, press enter and tab again, I go 12.23. What it's doing is lining up on the decimal point. So if you click and hold, you can see it's lining up on the decimal point. There's no way that you're going to get money lined up by just pressing the space bar. I mean, pressing the space bar to come across is the worst thing you can do. Not only is it difficult to line things up, but if I put the show hide on for a second, you're basically putting all these little character spaces in your document. So that is like almost like a line of text. So it's a very poor way to set a document up. But unfortunately, when people don't know about tabs, that's what they do. But so spacebar, get rid of it. Don't do it. Just backspace that off. And then I want to come down the line and then just pull that one off so there's no tabs. I've cleared all the tabs. Now if you have a table, so I'm just going to create a table, insert table, just get it three columns. When you click into a table cell, you can see that you have got like a little mini document there, a little ruler with your indent, left indent marker there, and your right indent marker there. Now if I put a tab, so in a minute I've got a decimal tab, so let's suggest that we're going to use a decimal tab on each of these. So I need to click into the cell to activate it. So I've got a decimal tab. Now how this works, so normally if I type, that's lining that one up. If I press enter, now if I press tab, it jumps into the next one and you can see it's lining it straight away. If you've got an older version of Word, sometimes it doesn't actually go like this is doing. This is the most up-to-date version of Word. It's going straight to the tab because I've set tabs. It doesn't do that. What you have to do is hold your shift key down and press tab, and then it will jump to it, because in an older version of Word it would just sit in the left corner. When you press tab, it would just jump into the next table. Press tab again, it would jump to the next table. It would never go to the tab stop that you've set. So you will have to hold your shift key down while you press tab, and then it'll jump across. So let me just get rid of this table. Just going to cut that out of the way. It's out of the way. And then if you highlight all of these and go back up to paragraph clear tabs, it'll get rid of all the tabs and everything will just bang into itself like so. So I put show hide on, you'll be able to see if there's any tabs manually placed. There's one there, and these are all tabbed in ones. So that's what this show hide will show you, where the tab markers are. I'm not going to change all that, but you can see the impact without tabs. You can't just pull tabs off or clear tabs in a document without having potentially catastrophic consequences. One last thing I want to mention is not using tabs to move address blocks over to the right hand side. What I mean by that is, let me just pull that tab off there. If I press the tab key and get myself over like so, and then I want to do an address, when I press enter, I've got to tab all the way across again. This is, in my view, not the way to do letters, apart from the typo there, but it's a very long-winded way of doing an address, because every time I press return, it shoots back across to the left-hand side, and I've got to tab all the way across. Now, of course, I could set a tab over there. I could set a tab there and just tab it once. But the point is, I'll try and show you what I mean. This is going to go wrong when I try to add something to it. Now, that looks okay at the minute, but if you suddenly decide that you need to add additional information on this particular line, so I'm just going to type some random letters, see what happens. It shoots back over here, which is obviously not what you want to do. Now, and the way I did that, you've got loads of tabs everywhere. Probably a bit over the top, you probably would just set a tab there. But this isn't how you should set your letters out anyhow, using tabs. These are old-fashioned ways of doing it. Older people tend to use tabs because of typewriters. They maybe have learnt on a typewriter as opposed to a computer or even an electronic typewriter. So don't go down that route. As I've said on other sessions, you should use your indent. So if you just grab the indent marker, pull that over to wherever you want it. So let's go for because when you type now, when I press enter, it stays there. It stays on the indent. So I don't have to start tabbing back across. And if I insert anything into this, it will not send it all over the page. So if I do exactly the same thing now, watch what happens. It will just wrap round in the same area on the indent because that's where the indent. So basically you've moved the left margin to there for this part of the document. And then when you go down a little bit, press enter there, you would just take this indent marker off. So Control Q is the key command for that. Or you can drag it back across wherever you want, and then you type in Dear Sir, Madam, or wherever your address block is. Type your letter, do your signature, and then everything's okay. So tabs have got a use, but they're definitely not to be used, I don't think, to scatter across the page like that, because it will cause difficulties when you start editing or adding extra text maybe later on. So that is the end of this little session. So I'll see you on the next one. In this module, we're going to look at the dictate feature. The dictate feature is on the Home tab, and you can see it on the right hand side there where it says dictate. So I'll just click it on. Now, when I talk, what I say to you will now type on the screen. If I want to create a new line, I just say new line. And then it creates a new line and then carries on recording everything I say. So this is typing quicker than I can actually type. So for my use, this is an amazing tool. Also, I am not great at spelling, so psychology would be a word I would struggle with, but there you go, it types it in straight away. Full stop, new line. I have used this quite a few times, and in the past it has been very frustrating because it does not pick up every word. Full stop. Now you can see there are some errors coming in as you type because it didn't pick up this, but it's underlining that in red, and I can go back through this and edit this document as I would any document, even if I was typing it. It's put the word cos there, so that's picking up my dialect, but even saying things with an accent, it's still fairly accurate. In the old days this was terrible. You'd say, let me get to the end. You'd say things like Tom went to school, and it would put Tom had a party or something totally irrelevant, and you had to talk into the computer many times before it picked up your accent. So this is a far superior tool. Now if I just stop this for a minute and then show you some of the options you've got there, and if I just click, I've not clicked it, I've just hovered there, you've got this little help which tells you some of the characters that you can type. If I click into dictate your documents, dictate in Word, it then comes up with some of the features and some of the things you can say and can't say. Period, you heard me say full stop, so it picks up that as well, but comma, question mark, new line, etc, etc. Now the beauty of this, you've also got this feature in Outlook. So I've got a new message opened up in Outlook, so I'll click it on. Hi Steve, new line. Thanks for the meeting today, it was great to see you, and as we said, I will confirm Excel training next Wednesday at 9:30. Full stop. And then I'll stop the dictate, and there you go. In this module, I want to have a quick look at how to use the AutoText feature. So what that's all about is the ability to be able to do things like this. Just type a word or key phrase, and you can see the little tip comes up there, and when I press enter I get a paragraph of AutoText which I've already saved. And if I just type another one, ending, again press enter, and there's a paragraph. Now those are paragraphs that I've added. In Word you can also type things like equals rand with an open and close bracket, and when you press enter it gives you some random text. So if I just undo that, now if you type equals rand with an open bracket and then qualify it with a 1, you want 1 paragraph and then a comma and 3 sentences. If you do it like that, you don't get as much, like so. So if I get myself a blank screen so you can see that a little better. So equals rand, open bracket, I want 1 paragraph of 3 sentences. So when I press enter, you get that. You can also type in other things like so, and you get some text which is obviously not in English, but it's just text that you can then manipulate if you're trying to demonstrate something in Word. So center align that text, right align, justify that text. So just to give you some text. And while I'm on about key commands, I'll just get rid of all of this. If you do Alt Shift T, that gives you the time. Alt Shift D gives you the date, and Alt Shift P gives you the page number. Now if I just show you how that page number would work, these are fields, so these will update. Like tomorrow that'll say the 18th, and that'll change. If I save this file and closed it and then reopened it, whatever the time was, it would tell me. If I do a hard page break there, Control and enter, that still says 1, but if I highlight it and do F9, the F9 function key, which updates fields, you can see it says 2, so that is what it says on the tin. And then the other thing you can do is this. If I just get myself another document, blank, if I do Shift F9, not Shift F9, Control F9, I get these 2 brackets, and inside those brackets you can use Word as a little calculator. Now I know you can do insert formula, and I've got other videos which explains how to do that, and you can do this inside tables. But if I go equals 2 plus 3, when I press F9, that just gives you the answer. So you can use this as a quick ready reckoner. So it's Control F9 gives you the brackets, and then equals 45 times 10, and then just F9 to finish it off gives you the answer. So all those are just examples of quick shortcuts to get stuff on the screen. But the AutoText that I want to focus on in this little session is done like this. So I need to just open the document and show you how I do it. So if I open the document, Control O, get myself up into examples, and then to Word 2020, indent is what I want. There's some just random text. So what you need to do to use the AutoText, and the same applies in Outlook. If you want to use AutoText in Outlook, you just double click, highlight it in the margin. That's what I want. And then you go Insert, and then over the right it's in Quick Parts, and then you can use this option, Save to the AutoText gallery, or you can go in there. It's an extra step really. Save to AutoText gallery, give it a name. I'll call it Start because I've already got one called Intro. It's in the AutoText gallery straight away. That's great. And then you can categorize it if you want. So you can see I've got lots of different categories. General is what you normally have it on. Now these categories are more to do with rationalizing how you want the chunks of text to sit. But on some more advanced courses or sessions that I've done, you can see how you can bring in several elements from different categories into a form, which is a great feature. But that's all you do. This can stay on normal. OK to that. You can obviously put a description in there if you want. OK to that. So I'll do that again. Double click and highlight the whole paragraph. Quick Parts, the AutoText option. Save to the AutoText gallery. I'll call this Finish. It's in the right place. It's in General. I'm not going to put a description. OK to that. Now if I get myself a new document, I can then type start, comes up with a tip, press enter. Now if I didn't want to press enter, so I want to use the word start, I'll just do a space and carry on as normal. And then finish, there comes the tip, and there you go. Now also, if I just highlight all of them, get rid of that, you can do this. If I go insert, let's do a table. I'll highlight that. I'll go insert, quick parts, AutoText, save to the gallery, call it table 1, say. It's in general, that'll do. Okay. Undo that. Type table. Enter. There you go. I'll get my table. Same with if I want a default chart, I can insert a default chart. So it's ready to rock and roll. Get rid of that. Then I just save that into the AutoText options. Quick part. The AutoText options. Gallery. Now it's just come up with an asterisk. So if I call this chart, it's in the right place. AutoText. OK. Delete that off. Type chart. Now I haven't got the little tip for this object. So I'm typing chart. Every other thing I've done is come up. I've pressed enter there. Table. Comes up with a tip. But for objects like charts and smart art objects, you need to do this. So I'll type chart. I'm now doing F3 on my computer, or just F3 if you've got a full keyboard, and then that activates it. You would also, if I just get rid of all this, Control A, delete, you'd also have to do that F3 key, or use the F3 key if you've only named something a couple of letters. So let's see if I can get that to show you that. So if I highlight this again and save this as Sax, which is my nickname, click OK to that. And then if I type SAX, I don't get the tip coming up. So I would have to, if I wanted to activate this, use the F3 key, function F3, and then I get it. So really you should name things more than 3 characters to get the tip coming up, so you can see that it's picked it up. Now the other thing you can do is, if I want some of these, and you'd only do this if you're using these all the time and you want this sort of let's go for relations. Let's say I quite often use this little funnel. I want that to be available. I don't need that. Same thing, as long as it's highlighted, the whole thing's highlighted. Insert, quick parts, AutoText, save to the gallery. Give it a name, so I'll call it org, and it's less than 4 characters, so OK. Delete it, type org, nothing comes up. Use the F3 function key and then it comes up. So that's how you can use AutoText, and you can grab whole chunks of text, pages and pages of text. You can use it almost as like a template. For things that are standard phrases or paragraphs, you just save them to AutoText and you can bring them into any document, and then off you go from there. Now in terms of Outlook, if I just go into a new message on Outlook, so this is my signature. So if I highlight that, and in Outlook you go insert, quick parts, if I can find it. I can't find it. Quick parts, there it is. AutoText, save, and I will call this Sax, and that's it. OK. Redefine this block entry. I've already got one called Sax. I'll say yes. And then if I type Sax there and go F3, it just drops in. So in Outlook, you could create quite a few different endings to a message or an email. But in the same way as we typed intro in Word, it doesn't carry across into Outlook. It used to in the old days. I'm going back a million years. You'll have to redo those again if you wanted to drop paragraphs in. But I have seen people use the signature block to do what AutoText should be doing. It works, but I don't believe that you should be putting paragraphs in here and giving it a name and then doing it like that. because this is formatted sometimes and you might not want it formatting. So what you should do is just drop the paragraph in, highlight it in the same way, go through the same process and have them in quick parts, and you just use the words. If you can't remember the words, you get the list there, look, of what there is in terms of quick parts. So that's Outlook. If I just come back out of that, that was really loud. Just get rid of the sound. I don't know why it's on 100%. Just cancel that off, and then back into Word. And just a quick intro, enter, org, not 4 characters, so you're going to have to use the F3 function key, and chart, even though it's 5 characters, still needs the F3 key to activate it, but then you're ready to go to edit these things if you want to. So that's all I wanted to talk about in this little session. That is AutoText, and hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next one. In this module, we're going to look at find and replace. On the right hand side of the Home tab, I've selected the Home tab, you find and replace. So this is what I'm going to click on, replace. The box comes up there, so the first part of the box is just find, second part is replace, third part is go to. So replace. So the example I want to do first of all is find the word Microsoft in this document. So I'll type Microsoft at the top and replace it with the word Lotus down the bottom there. Now the temptation is to go replace all, but that can be quite dangerous because you could end up putting a word inside a word that shouldn't be there. In this example that would be okay because these are names, so that would probably work. But still, I want to do it like this. I'm going to click on replace first. It goes to the first occurrence of Microsoft. Now let's say in this example I don't want to replace that one. I can just ignore that and go find next. Finds the next occurrence of Microsoft, so this one I can replace, and now I can click through the document, click in replace, or if I didn't want to replace that one I would go find next, but I do want to replace that one, and that will finish this one off. Click OK to that. Now if I type the word the and replace it with the word that and do click replace all, let's see what happens. I've made 16 replacements, but if I move my little box you can see that there it has placed the word that inside the word there. It's done it again there, and no doubt there are a few other mistakes further down, and now that would be a problem in itself trying to correct that. Now I know we haven't saved this, so we've got undo at the moment, so that would be okay, but just be careful about clicking replace all. Now let's have a look at this one. Let's have a look at finding the word office and changing it to the word room, but this time I'm going to click on more because I have more options, and what I would like to do is change it to a different font and a different color. So I'm going to click back on there because in my experience sometimes when you click this button it jumps back up to the top option. So I'm just double checking that I'm on this one. Then format, font, and I can change this to, let's say, 24 and red. Okay to that. Oh, didn't pick the color. Red. Okay to that. And then I will go in this example replace all, but you can see the format there. Replace all. 14 replacements. Click OK. So you can see how that works. Now next one, I'm going to type the word specialist and replace it with expert. But I've got to get rid of this. This is a legacy from the previous one, so no formatting is what I need to do for that. And then again you're going back into format font, and this time I'll pick a blue color and underline, double underline, and pick a different font, size 20. So that's what it's going to do. Click OK. There's the information. Replace all. Okay, so you can see it in there. So that's basically how find and replace works. The key to all of this is making sure that you clear off any legacy formatting before you do the next one. So last one, just one more time, program, change that to event, and do the format font. You've also got these options you could use, but I'll stick to font for this, and I'll pick a different color, amber, bold, and let's make it quite large, 36. OK, replace all. It's done 7 replacements, click OK. And then when you're finished, you can delete these out. You don't even have to delete it out really. Clear the formatting, close the box. Now, what I want to do in the rest of this session is just basically reset this back down to normal font. So I'm going to select Control and then A to select the whole document, and then Control and Spacebar to put the document back to the default font. Now it hasn't changed the actual words that I changed, but it's put the font back to Times New Roman 12 point. So the next little bit in this session is going to be borders and shading. So first of all, I'm clicking into this first paragraph and I want to select an outside border or all border. Either would work, all borders, and then this one gets a border. And then to the left of that, a colour, a shading colour, like so. Next one, let's select a right border, and let's just highlight some of the text and pick a different colour to shade. Next one, let's do a bottom border, and let's make the whole thing shade. And then coming down into this next paragraph, I want to do something slightly different. So I am going into borders and shading at the bottom to this box. So I could use this box to create exactly the same. There's the border, or I've got a shadow option, a 3D option. I've got color options for the lines, so let's go for red, and line thickness. Let's pick a thick line so it stands out, so you can see it there now. You've got paragraph option there. You've got options on that paragraph, so you can basically move it from the text. So if I just show how this works, so it's moving the border away from the text. You can do the left right as well. Click OK to that, click OK again, and you can see that coming on there now, big thick line. Now next paragraph, if I go back into borders and shading, you've got a page border which has exactly the same things, box for the whole page, but in addition to these styles down this left hand side, you also have these options under this heading at the very bottom. Now there are quite a few different options in there, and as you get further down, these look like certificate edges, quite a long way down actually. So these ones go back up a bit. If I click on that one, that's more like an attendance certificate you can do. Click OK, and then you get that going on the page. That's the page border and paragraph borders. Now if I do Control A and Control Spacebar now, nothing happens to the text because I didn't change the text. But to reset the paragraphs, the key command is Control Q, and that should take all the borders off the paragraphs and all the shading. So that's reset the paragraphs. The page border is not part of that process, so that's stayed on. To remove the page border, I need to go back into borders and shading, back onto page border, and take this off. None, and none, and then OK, and that is off. So just to have a little play with this, let's see if we can do something with this document. So there is the right indent marker, which I'm just going to move into, say, 14. In fact, before I do that, I need to highlight the whole document. So let's just highlight the whole document. So pull that to 14, make it justified, and now a right border down the right hand side like so. There's the right border. So I've used justification. I could put a numbered list on there, and you see you're getting a multiple set of features. There's the hanging indent for the numbered list. The first line indent is the numbers, and then the body of the text is hanging off. You've got a right indent over there, and you've got a right border with some space to write or sign to say you've read that information. So that's the end of this session, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one. In this module, I want to have a look at bullet lists, numbered lists, and outline numbered lists. So first of all, I'm just going to get a blank piece of paper. The paragraph group at the top is where all of this is going to sit. So first of all, a bullet list. So if I click on the bullet list, it gives me a bullet on the screen. And then I can just type, press enter, type, press enter. That gives me a bullet list. If I need a space, I hold my shift key down and press enter, let go, press enter again, and the bullet will pick up. If I press enter twice, it will remove the bullets. So I need to go back to the last correct space to pick up the bullets. If you don't type, it will lose the bullet. If I hold my shift key down and press enter, I get the space, but I might want to type. So shift enter like so. That will allow me to type a list within a bullet, and then when I press enter again, it will give me the next bullet, and then enter to knock it off. Now if I just delete all of that and then have a look at some of the other bullets that's in there. So that was these are the preset bullets, and quite often this is a bigger list than you can see here. I quite often use that in PowerPoint, to be honest. But if I go down to the bottom, you've got define new bullet, click on that, and then you've got symbols or picture, and you can change the font size for the bullet like so. Now if I go for symbol, what it should do is give me all the symbols. So this is the same as clicking on insert symbol, but you're doing it through bullet lists. So the ones I want are down at the bottom, wingdings, that one. And I don't know why I always go to the bottom of this list, because I want to be at the top of this list. And these are some of the options that you've got to be a button. So you've got scissors there, look, so you could put scissors in, but I want to use this little book symbol, and then OK to that. And now the size of this book is still quite small, so this is where the font would come in. So I want this to be red, and I want the font to be quite large, so I'll go for 48, and then click OK to that, and then OK again, and then you get your little book, which is now your bullet, like so. Now if I get rid of those, delete that off. Now that, because I've just recently used it, is sitting there. Now what you don't really want to be doing is editing these and losing the default one. So that bullet there is quite big, to be honest. So you might want to create a bullet that's just a smaller dot, or you can create dashes, whatever you want it to be of the bullet. You just go down there and create your own little bullet list. Now in terms of numbers, you have a similar sort of setup here, different styles, with the option there of creating a new number format. So same process, you'd go in the font, so you've got that style there is a full stop, that's showing you what that is. Font you can change the color to the numbers, and we'll do that actually. I'll change it to red. I'll make it bold as well, so the number's going to be bold, and I'll change the size of it to 20. So that's the style I want. Click OK, so you can see it there. It's quite big. If you wanted a bracket there, you could put a bracket there. You've got different styles if you want to change the number format there. Click OK to that, and the same principle works. Now you've got, if you notice on the top there, you've got an indent marker. If you sit your mouse on the rectangle, you'll be able to move that into the margin for one or all of them if you select them all, or bring it back. because quite often you have these sort of numbers in the margin area. So just push that into the margin like that. Now, if I put show hide on, you can see that there's a large tab there, and that's part of the format for this numbered list. If I backspace that off, you take the number off. So that's the tab that's set there. You can't actually see it on the ruler. It's just part of the style that comes with this. So that's a straightforward numbered list. Now if I get rid of that, backspace that off and get rid of show hide. Now the one next to it is the outline numbered list, which causes most problems that I find with people. So these are preset, and again you can change the level or create a new list, same sort of thing. You just go in there and create a list, call it whatever you want, and set the criteria, different style of number, and then change the font and stuff like that. If I just cancel that off, and let's just pick one. So I'll just pick the default one actually, or the one I normally use is this one. Now you type away, you press enter, you type away, you press enter. Now to do the outline numbering, you just press your tab key or indent, and then you carry on, tab again. So this will go down quite a long way, but obviously you might not want it to go all the way down there. So if I want to come back up a level, I hold my shift key and press tab, and it goes back, type, press enter, shift tab again, it goes back, type, press enter, shift tab again, it goes back again, type, press enter, shift tab, back to the main list. And again, if you want the space, you hold your shift key down, enter, let go of your shift key, press enter again, you get the gap. Obviously you can come back through this and delete it off and faff about doing it on making spaces afterwards, but it's a long-winded way around of doing it. If you remember the shift key and press enter and then press enter again to get your numbered list, you will find it a lot easier. Now the good news is this sort of list you can put on a document that's got no numbers on at all. But before I do that, I just want to show you the benefit of doing this. If I just delete that, you see how it renumbered? If I delete number 2, it's just renumbered underneath. That's now number 2. So it's very dynamic. What you find in older documents, not so much in new documents, because when you type in Word now, if I type 1 and put a bracket on it, it's automatically thinking I want a numbered list. So it's actually giving me that. I don't know if you saw at the very beginning, I had, I'll just undo that actually. If I type it again, 1 bracket space, as soon as I do that, it's coming up with this AutoText option, and I've got an option to undo automatic numbering to stop it. But you'd have to physically do that. Most people would probably want an automatic list, so they will carry on typing and you'll get the automatic list once you keep going. But in older versions of Word, you could type, and people did type manually into a list in a big document, which then caused a problem, because if you're manually typing and then you try and change something, so I'll see if I can do it on here. This is a new version though, so I'll stop it doing automatic list. So 1, so it hasn't come up with 2. If I go 2 and then I go 3, so it's not doing an automatic list. Now if I delete 2, what happens? See, it hasn't reset to 2 like the automatic list would do. So that would be a problem in a big document. So when people don't use the automatic list, because they might find it difficult initially, it causes real stress for other people that have to edit that document when they're trying to renumber a list. So my advice to you is to use the automatic list wherever possible. Now, I said that you can put this on a document they've already got formatted. So if I just double click 3 times in this margin, that will highlight the whole document. So just to remind you, if you didn't know, 2 clicks does a paragraph. Don't know what's happened here with this. Just backspace that. Just save this for a second. So 1 click a line, 2 clicks the paragraph, 3 clicks the whole document. So I've highlighted the whole document, which is just 1 page. one and a bit, and then I'm going to put the outline number on, the one that I just did. In fact, it was that one, and it puts numbers on every single paragraph. But what you then have to do is basically go through the document, knock it off where you don't want it, and then just use your tab key to tab down where you want the indent to be, the level to be. Now you might notice there that that B has gone bold. Okay, there's two ways that you can get rid of this bold. You can highlight it and then knock that off. If I put it back on, so it's off at the minute, so if I put that back on, it puts it back on for all of that level. So I take that off. In fact, I'll just do undo to get it back how it was. So just that one being bold, like so. The other way of doing it would be to go into the multi-leveled list option, and you're on level 2, and go to font. So you can see the B there, and then it doesn't actually show you as being bold, but if you click on regular and then click OK, that will do it. But this is also where you can go and change the level, the indent level. That shows space coming from these letters, aligned at 0.5 centimeters, indented at 1.14. And as you're coming down these different things, these measurements obviously get bigger, as you can see at the top level. So these are all set. So when you create your own list, which I showed you a second ago, you have to be very careful. You have some sort of logic in terms of distance from the left margin for these indented lists. If I click OK to that, it's taken it off. So that's how you get rid of that. So every time I press tab, it's going to go down, and then shift tab, it's going to come back up to a main number, and immediately everything underneath is just going to reset. Now, if somebody had typed, like I showed you a minute ago, manually, that wouldn't happen, and you would have to go through this document and manually get rid of the numbers that have been typed, and then highlight the whole document and reapply this numbered list. So if I double click 3 times in the margin, numbered list, none, and that hasn't worked because I've got the top selected, so I'll have to drag down like that and then just take it off like so. So numbered list is off. I'll do Control Q, which will reset paragraphs, and that's taking everything back to the left margin. So that was just a quick overview of numbered lists, outline numbered lists and bullets. Very easy to do. From scratch, it's very easy to do, but when you're trying to edit somebody else's work, that can be really frustrating and extremely time consuming. What I would tend to do is what I've just done on that other document is, I closed it, didn't I? Is basically get everything off, Control Q, reset the paragraphs, and then start again. Maybe I would print the document off first so I can see what the indents were meant to be, what the numbering was meant to be. But that's numbering list. That's all I want to talk about on this session. So I'll catch you on the next one. In this session, we're going to look at section breaks and column breaks, and through that looking at how to change the numbering between those sections and change the headers between different sections. So first of all, section breaks. If you click onto the layout tab, you can see the breaks feature there. So first of all, section break, next page. I'm going to do that twice, so I end up having 3 pages. So if I minimize those down, you can see 3 pages. I'll just change the settings so that they are side by side. 3 pages. Now, normally to do a header, you can double click into the top of the page and you'll just see the header section. But once you've done section breaks, you get section 1, section 2, section 3, and so on with the footers. 1, 2, and 3. So this is what you can do. If I type my first name at the top, as it is at the moment, everything is linked together, so my first name comes through on every page. However, if I click into this one and take this off, now I can't click it there, but I can take it off from this option, link to previous. Click that off. So if I now change that to my second name, there's my first name, there's my second name. Now this is my second name also because this one is still linked to this middle section. So if I take that one off, link to previous off, I can then change this to be my first name again. So I have now got first name, second name, first name. Now in terms of page numbers, the same principle applies. So if I select a page number, bottom of the page, I'll just pick a plain one. It goes 1, 2, 3. Now if I want this one to be Roman numerals, I have to highlight it, go into format page numbers and select the numbering style that I would like, which is that one. Click OK to that. So that changes to an I that sits at a 2 and that says 3. So what I need to do now is click into this footer, break the link, highlight the number and set that to start at number 1. So I do want it to be 1, 2, 3, but start at number 1. Okay, start at number 1. Now this says 2. I'm going to click into that section, break the link, and then change this to a letter A and select start at letter A from page numbers. Format page numbers, ABC, capital ABC, and click the start at option and it will automatically default to the letter A. So now I've got I, 1 and A. Now if I quickly double click out of the header and footer and do Control Enter for a hard page break, do that again, it didn't do it. You can see there I've now got I, and then it says 1, and if I click there and do Control Enter, I get another page 2, and then this one, if I do it again here, it will be the letter B. There's the B. So as you increase within each section, the numbering will increase for that section. So that's how you do sections and then change the numbers. Now if I just close this document down for a minute and don't save it and get myself a blank document, Control N for new. When you use columns, the process is slightly different. So let's have a look at how that works. If I go to layout and select columns, if I go 3 columns, you can see those columns on your ruler. If your ruler is not active, go view ruler, always a good thing to have on. Now if I type down this first column, which is great, but then when I want to click into the next column, I can't click into the next column. I would have to go all the way down this column before it would come back up to the next column, and all the way down that one before it would come back up to this one. Unless you do this, go to breaks, column break, and then it moves across. And then you do the same for the next one, breaks, column, and it moves across. And then if I press enter one more time, now what I need to do is say I want to go back to a normal Word document. I no longer want columns. I need to do this, breaks, continuous, and at the moment that's still not fixed because I still have the 3 columns. I then need to put the columns back to 1, and then that would allow me to type all the way across like that. Obviously if you go back into these columns and start to press enter, you'll see you'll bring the columns down. Now if you want to see where the column breaks are, you can go view outline and you can see the breaks, and if you delete any of these you will totally trash this document. You can also do that, sort of do that, or see some things when you go show hide. So you've got a column break there. It doesn't really show as much as what view outline does, or view. If I go to view as well, draft does the same thing, and then back to print layout. So that is how you do column breaks and then breaks continuous. Now if I close that one down, don't save it, get myself a new document, You can do section breaks like this. Sometimes you may want to have some pages that are landscape and some pages that are portrait. Now to do that, you can sort of say you're typing away in the first page and you're doing some information there. Now you decide you want a couple of tables. So what you can do is go layout, breaks, next page, and then on this next page change the orientation to landscape. So there's your table pages. You do a few tables. You may do 2 or 3 pages of this, and then you decide now you want to go back to a portrait page. You would then do exactly the same thing. Breaks, next page, and then on the next page you would change the orientation back to portrait, and then the same process would repeat. As you're typing in this page, it will just keep creating extra portrait pages. Now what you have to bear in mind with section breaks is that if you delete a section break, it may have a catastrophic impact on the rest of the document. So for example, if I come onto this page and let's have a look, what can I do? View, outline, section break, let's get rid of that. So I've clicked on it and pressing delete. Closing that. So what's happened there is these 2 pages are no longer looking at that page. There's no break between them, so this page has flicked over to landscape like these 2. Now if I do undo Control Z, you can see how it was supposed to be. This can happen. Some of my clients often say that they copy and paste large chunks of documents from one source into another, and then the sections are all over the place and they're not quite sure where the sections are. They go through a process of deleting sections to see the impact, and obviously it can be quite a long-winded process to fix a document if sections are all over the place. But it's nothing to be afraid of as long as you understand how they work and how to see them. I think it's quite straightforward to manage section breaks. Okay, so that is the end of this session. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next one. This is consolidation exercise 1. What I want you to do in this exercise is create a blank document and then create this document first. So you're basically doing a numbered outlined list and then a tabular table there. This is tabs with leader dots. And then if you come further down, tells you what to set the tabs at, and then you're creating a new document. So that's the end of that bit where you are using sections. You're going to create 3 sections and the headers need to be different on each section, as you can see there. Coming down again, so now you need to create either a new document. It's on the same document I think, but you can create a new document, I'm not bothered, and you're putting a text box down the margin in the header which will say first draft, second draft, third draft, and again you need to have sections to do that. Coming down again, create this document, so you need to open this document which is indent. It's called indent. It's in with all the other folders, all the other documents. You are creating a right indent based on this text. Don't highlight the title. Then that has been justified, and then there's a right border and then a tab where you've got action points there coming in off that margin. Tells you what to do up there, but that's basically a consolidation of all of the first part of this course. Once you've completed this, move on to the next bit. If you can't do any of this, just go back through the videos and see if you can find out where the issue is.